Hello friends, I wanted to talk with you a little bit while I'm cutting my post-workout fruit. I'm going to ask you to remember for a moment what is your favorite book, your favorite podcast, maybe your favorite YouTube lecture or YouTube video. If you tend to watch psychology, philosophy, or just personal development videos and lectures on YouTube. So remember for a moment, what is your favorite book, podcast, lecture, something that you think provided a lot of value to you. For this example, now let's put fiction aside. Let's talk about non-fiction books, podcasts, lectures, and different YouTube videos that you think brought value to you. And you can say, oh, this is some of my favorite pieces of content. Okay, if you remember them, if you have them on your mind, let me ask you this. How many times did you reread that book? How many times did you re-listen, if that's even a word? How many times did you re-watch, re-listen that podcast, that YouTube lecture, that educational video? How many times did you consume it again to gain a deeper understanding of it? How many notes have you made on that book, on that lecture, on that podcast? Because I hear so many people say, oh, I listened to that podcast, it's packed with value. Okay, great, but where do you store that value? Think about that for a moment. Because I'm sure a lot of you watching this don't take any notes, while maybe you take notes while listening to books. Where are your notes from your favorite podcasts? Because if you say that you're watching or listening something for educational purposes, what should you do if not take notes? Do you really expect to remember everything from it? If you say that it's valuable, a value has to be stored somewhere. You don't have capacity to remember everything valuable from every video, every audiobook maybe, or every book that you read. So from all different pieces of content that you've consumed, you don't have the capacity to retain everything and to hold at all times available to you, to hold in your mind. All valuable pieces, all pieces of value from all content that you consumed ever, all educational content. Think about it for a moment. Do you have a habit of taking notes? I'm not saying approach every podcast that you listen, approach it, and every YouTube video. I'm not saying approach it as a lecture and start listening it while sitting in your chair and being prepared with your notebook like a student. I would suggest that you do that for some demanding philosophy or psychology lectures or some of Andrew Huberman podcasts. Some of them require you to, if you want to extract value from them, you need to accept the fact that you cannot listen to them while vacuuming or doing your any chore that you have in mind. You have to sit and take out pen and paper and take notes. Think about what content requires you to already be prepared, literally as a student, to sit down with pen and paper before consuming it, and what content allows you to listen it a bit more freely, but still take notes. I talked about this recently. Okay, when I'm listening to Andrew Huberman, I will take out time to treat it like a lecture. Then there is a series of philosophy lectures. I think it was done in 90s by Professor Rick Roderick. I have one full notebook filled with notes from his lectures. His lectures on Nietzsche, on almost all the existentialists, existentialists. Then who else? Kierkegaard. He has a bunch of lectures. I can link that playlist in the description. So I treat that as going to school, going to university. I sit down, listen, take notes. But then there are podcasts that are a little bit more these modern podcasts that allow you. They're a bit more relaxed, and you cannot really it's not a matter of you cannot treat them like lectures, but you don't need to. So, for example, I listened to a podcast with Nick Bear. His podcast with, I think, name is Chad Wright, if I'm remembering it correctly. Both are ultra runners, so I'm not really going to. They're both amazing guys, insightful individuals, but I'm not really going to sit down and treat that like a university lecture. Still, however, the Chad Wright, ultra runner guy, resonated with me so much, and I recommended that podcast and gave a link to it in one of previous Existential Espressos. If you're new to here, Existential Espresso is my Monday newsletter where I share what I've been reading, listening to, and thinking about. So I've talked about that podcast and how much Chad Wright resonated with me. I took a bunch of notes during that podcast. So when I tell you, oh, this is valuable, it's valuable. Yes, it's really valuable because I've extracted that value, and I'm carrying it with me. So, for example, during that podcast, I would just pause and open my voice recording app and just talk. I would say, okay, Nick Bear podcast with Chad Wright, minute 12 and 35 seconds. They're talking about this and this, and these are my thoughts on this. Or, oh, okay, I relate this to idea from that book, or I relate this to something that I've heard somewhere else. So I'm doing it all the time. So when people ask me how I have so many ideas for writing, this is a part of it. Part of it is because my internal monologue or dialogue is going non-stop. So I'm thinking about different things in life, but partly is this also. I'm taking notes. So also, if you tell me, I cannot explain to you how much it means to me when you tell me that you find my content, my writing, my videos really valuable. It really fills my heart. But soon after, I think, okay, is this person actually using this value? So I'm curious if you're using it in the real world. But maybe there is one step before using it in the real world, and that's taking notes on it. Not every single lesson you need to take notes on before using it in the real world, but I think it helps. So when you tell me that you love my content so much, I'm curious, how many notes did you take in and expanded on my ideas? Not taking notes because I think you should listen to everything I say, but because maybe you have some of your own ideas that you can connect with what I said. So maybe you will take those notes, and then as you move on, you will read something or hear something different, be able to connect those ideas and eventually use them in the real world. So that's why I'm asking, where are your notes? Where are you storing value? This is what I've talked, I think it was the last week, in Sisyphus Society. It was part of my workshop about putting curiosity and creativity into practice. And this was the question, the main question or the main challenge that I posed to Sisyphus Society members. Where do you store value in terms of ideas? Where? If we speak so much about this was valuable, this was interesting, this was insightful, a lot of the times I notice that it's I have to be honest and say it's empty talk. Yes, it was valuable in a moment that you listen to it, and some of that, yes, you will retain some of that. Some of that will, sometimes there are moments where you're truly transformed that very second where you listen to something and it hits you. But the vast majority of times you need to save that value somewhere so that it's always accessible to you. Yeah, so that's something that I wanted to talk with you about. If you tell me that you have your favorite book, answer please in comments. Honestly answer. How many times did you reread your favorite book, your favorite non-fiction book? How many times did you reread it, and how many notes how many pages of notes do you have from that book? And answer the same for your favorite podcast episode or watch. I don't want to sound like I'm speaking from above. Oh, I'm taking so many notes. How many are you taking? I'm speaking this because it's something that I feel is not talked about enough, and I'm in a way responsible because I didn't speak about this before. It was common sense to me, so I thought everyone else was doing it. To be completely honest, I thought, okay, when people tell me that they enjoy my essays so much, I guess that from every essay that they really like, they have at least a couple of notes. And hopefully, okay, also from my videos and some of my more dense carousel posts on Instagram. And it's not about me. I'm just giving that as an example. So I treated it as common sense, as something that definitely everyone is practicing. So I didn't talk about it enough. That's why I say I'm not speaking from above. I'm speaking kind of passionately about it because I cannot allow this to go on unnoticed anymore. This need to make notes, to write down, to save value. And also something that I've spoken about during that workshop, steal knowledge, steal ideas. I say steal, not steal and to take something and claim it as your own. In my language, we say, at least I've been hearing that from my mother since I was a kid, steal knowledge, steal, because you will receive a certain amount of knowledge and it's less and less in traditional education system. But there is so much knowledge out there that's not going to be given to you on a silver platter. So you have to take it. So it's not steal, it's not something negative, something aggressive, something deceitful, something immoral. It's more in a sense of it's being provided out there, but no one is going to give it to you. You have to take it. You have to take it assertively. So that's why it's steal knowledge from me. If you think you have value to gain from me, I urge you, start taking notes and start developing your own ideas, or something that I say, write about it so that it becomes more clear how it relates to your life. That's something that's been on my mind, and I hope this reaches to you, this hits you in a way that you will take action on it. You have to have a place where you're storing what you perceive as valuable ideas, information. And sometimes it's not even a complete idea. Sometimes it's maybe a piece of information or a story or an idea that is not complete but can help you develop something of your own. Sorry. So that's it. Tell me in the comments, how many times did you reread your favorite book? How many times did you rewatch or re-listen your favorite podcast or educational YouTube video? How many notes did you take on it? Tell me that in the comments, and let's discuss what is the best way for you to take those notes. I told you that when it's a more relaxed podcast and it's more on the spot, that I'm moving through my day but listening to something, then I pause for a moment and take voice note. But when I know that I'm going to be listening to something serious or reading, of course I approach it by having already my pen and paper prepared. So let's discuss what is the best way for you to take notes in relation to what type of content educational content you most frequently consume. Let's talk about that a little bit, and let's get this sort of movement going, this movement of not just talking about, oh, this is so valuable, but actually standing behind those words. If yes, this is valuable, and I can say that because I have actually taken that value so that it is available to me at all times. That's pretty much it. Now I'm going to devour this fruit. If you were curious, I'm not sure if you even see, we had dragon fruit and pineapple. I'm going to leave this part of pineapple for later. This is already too much. And that's it. Talk to you soon, and of course, subscribe, like. Let's get this discussion going in the comments, and I will not forget it. Stay strong, love life, and never feel sorry for yourself.